Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Alan Kline, entrepreneur and realtor at RPA Real Estate. What's up, podcast? Episode 71 of the On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the podcast, Alan.
Bill, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, this is exciting. You're back home in NEPA, and before we get into these awesome cash flow shirts that you brought with you today, and your real estate career that you're now doing in NEPA,
Yep.
Tell me what you were doing before you moved back home.
Yeah, I after graduating Temple U, shout out, I went right to working for Stanley Black & Decker. So I represented the brand DeWalt Power Tools, which I'm sure a lot of people know DeWalt, black and yellow. That was in 2012 I started. And
So that was like your first job right out of school?
First job right out of school, learning about miter saws, drills.
How'd you get the job?
Just interviewed, actually. They were recruiting, and I was always handy. So you hear those gurus that say, follow your passion. Well, I was like, hey, I like building stuff. So let's see how it works out. Yeah. And it was awesome time. But I did, right out of school, these big companies, they're like, where do you want to move? Here's an offer. Where do you want to move? And they listed, holy cow, probably 20 cities. And I picked San Diego. So I moved to Southern California for a few years. Managed a sales team there, had Hawaii, Vegas, San Diego, Orange County as a...
Wow. So like you went on a vacation.
It was the best out of school. Like it was great. Vacation for 2 years and I got paid for it.
That's cool.
Whoever's listening, my
So why'd you pick San Diego?
Never been, and it was Southern California. You hear like, bro, you gotta go. It's rad. It's, it's cool down there. So it was awesome. Like no regrets there. Lived there for a few years and then moved from Southern California to Baltimore, Maryland, which is, who would do that? I don't know, but I did. It was totally a different change of pace. And my jobs were really selling to big box stores. So DeWalt doesn't sell direct to the end user. So we sell through distribution. So my customer was Home Depot out on the West Coast. I sold pretty much any Home Depot from south of LA over to like Palm Springs and Las Vegas, Hawaii, and Guam. Had anything they had like not in the aisle. So like any merchandisers, these are kind of buzzwords I'm using, but anything in the aisles or any end caps in those stores was because of me. I sold those to like regional managers there. Was really cool. So from Home Depot, I got transitioned to Baltimore doing job site sales. So lived in Baltimore, but my territory was actually all of Maryland, D.C., and Northern Virginia. So I could tell you a million cool stories, selling to construction companies in D.C. It was awesome. It's funny, during my time there, they built the Trump Hotel, this is when Trump was running for president. So it was right down the street from the White House. So that was part in my territory. So I got to see I don't know Trump's daughters. Maybe I should know this, maybe I shouldn't. But she was pregnant at the time, and like
Ivanka, maybe.
Yeah, I think was that his wife. I forget. I should know.
I don't
like,
know. I don't
wow,
know
brutal with politics.
That's all right.
But,
me too.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah. Anyway, so Washington D.C. has a territory. I would be in this. They're building the Trump Hotel. And I'm seeing all the stuff that goes on. And at that time, this is a kind of crazy story. There was a lot of build the wall talk and things. Well, the population and the workers building the Trump Hotel were a lot of them were from Mexico working there, building the hotel. So before the hotel was finished, this is top secret here. Not a lot of people know this story, but what they painted over. So like the curse words and hate words inside the walls of the Trump Hotel in DC. Like if you were to rip a wall down and see the messaging written inside the wall where the studs are, it's so funny what they would write about our past president. But it was just wild. Like having DC as a territory, I've seen Bernie Sanders. I was selling power tools to a contractor and they were remodeling one of the Fox News studios. So I was on the third floor and Bernie was doing an interview, I guess, on the second floor. So I was selling them this it was a powder actuated gun, really what it was, to shoot things into concrete. And I'm leaving the building and there's Bernie. I'm in a high vis vest and a hard hat and steel toe boots. And there's like Bernie surrounded by people. It was just funny. Just like I'm way out of my element. Everyone's in suits and I'm in, a hard hat and vest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, which is crazy. I'm just thinking of these stories now. You could walk in if you have a hard hat and vest on, you could freaking go anywhere. No one asks you for ID or anything.
No one stops you.
So I was like, I was going on roofs. Like if I had a meeting with a contractor and they were working in the basement, I'm like, oh, let's just see if I could go on the roof and take some photos. So like on my phone, I have like a million different photos of different roofs of DC, getting the White House in it and stuff.
That's crazy.
But hard hat and high vis vest. If anybody wants to walk in anywhere for free.
There's the secret.
That is the secret.
You get top secret clearances in DC.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But that was, what I did. Yeah. For DeWalt, job site sales. And then I did, marketing for a year and did the corporate, dressing up, going into a cubicle. So I went from steel toe boots into a whole different wardrobe.
So was this like three different, so you went from selling to the big box stores like Home Depot, right?
Yep.
Then you go to DC and now you were selling just like two
contractors on job sites.
Large jobs.
Yeah, major
right?
job sites.
Okay,
yeah.
so you did that and then you kicked the steel toe boots to the curb and then you go suit and tie.
Yeah, it was more business casual, but
okay.
Holy cow, it's like what a change of pace.
Yeah, so why the change? How did you get into that part of the business?
The corporate world says, hey, there's really no ladder. The corporate ladder doesn't exist anymore. You really have to bounce all over the place to get where you need to go. So in the back of my mind, I knew I always wanted to quit, but I'm also like, everyone that took this, it was called channel marketing. So I did, marketing that involved actually a lot of cash flow. So it was like very margin driven. So in the sales role, you've been there. We just focus on the top line, growing the top line. We don't care about really the margin. This was the opposite. I was in the marketing role now and really watching what our margins were doing. And all the crazy sales guys out there, what they would do to just get a deal done. So I had to protect our margin inside, but I don't have an MBA, but I could tell you just doing that experience and being in those meetings and forecast, just a million different things I would do. Oh my gosh, that's probably more valuable than getting your MBA any day. So
you got like some experience in the trenches.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. The corporate life, just in those meetings, watching some crazy stuff go down. It was, when the sales numbers are up, it's awesome. Everyone's in a good mood. But when you have a bad month and you have to, in the leadership in that room has to report to shareholders what's going on, it's a totally different tone. It's wild.
So it was was it kind of like high pressure? Was it like?
Yeah, high pressure for sure. Great people to work with though. So everyone was kind of like, okay, let's get dinner and we'll work late tonight type of thing. And it was great learning experience, but I don't know how I have some of my best friends are still there and they're doing that job for 10 years, 8 years. And I'm like, I couldn't do it for more than a year. Get me out of here.
Yeah. So, but you got some good experience.
Great experience.
And what were you doing? Were you projecting like future quarterly numbers?
Yeah. To answer your question, we would do promotions. So like, actually I could give you an example of if you ever get the Sunday paper or you see, and I'll use the funniest example ever is, those, you're going to be a dad. So the white dad shoes, you have the New Balance.
Yeah.
Then you have the Nikes.
Yeah.
So I would set price. So if we did a promotion for DeWalt, like I would say, okay, if we're going to drop the price of these, I'll use the Nikes again. If the Nikes are $60, but you get them for $40 on Father's Day, like I would do the math to think to forecast how much we would have to sell it at $40, what we manufacture them for, to make sure, hey, we need to sell at least 20,000 pairs to make this discount worthwhile.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Versus like, there's sometimes we would run a promotion where like we were better off not doing anything because we lost money.
Because you didn't make up.
Yeah, because holy cow, we only made, we only sold 10,000 units when I forecasted 30,000 units. Like it could be bad, but most of the time it was good. But, it was pretty interesting to do that. Yeah. The forecasting and the margin, very margin conscious that company.
And like so like you were reporting these numbers to your higher ups and
exactly. So really like to keep it basic, the channel team would make the promotions. We'd get the sales results. We'd give them to our management team. Management team gives them to the VP and presidents. Presidents meet with the other presidents, and then like another layer up. And then somebody on that layer,
a lot of layers.
Yeah, a lot of layers. And somebody on that layer goes to the shareholders. Like it's I don't know, maybe there's 10 layers, maybe there's 6, but it's like, a lot of layers to that.
So you obviously don't work in corporate America now, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But I mean, were there things you didn't like about it, or things that you really liked about it? I mean, it sounds like you got some really good experience.
The experience, hands down, was great. I guess I'll start what I didn't like. I didn't like having no control, I guess, on my schedule. So if something, like we call it, a fire drill, like something happened with a customer or somebody did a typo on a promotion and that's going to print and it's going to printing, 50,000 things by tomorrow, like, holy cow. And you find out it's yourself that made that mistake or somebody else, like you're not going home. Like, you got to fix this mistake because that project's due in like an hour, or maybe it's due the next morning. So that was the difficult part, a lot of stress on that to make sure, hey, you only have a small timeline, and the details of that were just insane. So that's what I didn't like. But what I loved, but first of all, the people were awesome to work with. Like, everyone was on the same page. Like, everyone had the same work ethics, same, goals and things. And then just the experience, like, holy cow, I could talk margins, promotions, wholesaling. Like, I was just involved in all that, and I don't do that anymore, but like a secret passion. Like, I've done wholesaling for DeWalt. I had a couple of wholesale customers, so I would make programs for them so then they could wholesale to larger box stores. Like, it's just all over the place. But yeah, wow. I love the experience. So.
Did you get to like travel a lot, like around the country?
When I was in SoCal, definitely traveled there. And then when I was selling on job sites, not really heavy travel. And then when I was in the office, there was a couple people on my team. So at one point I had like Texas, I had just like the southern part of the United States. So I've traveled to Florida, Texas, Louisiana, had some crawfish, all that good stuff. So yeah, once or twice a year, got to get out of the office.
And then you quit twice from what I
I think I was telling you that story. Yeah. So I'll brush on that one. That's a funny story. So the first time I quit, I just
so this is for real. You quit twice.
Yeah, and it's like what is that movie, Office Space? Like,
oh yeah,
like, does he quit it or he kind of leans back in the chair? Well, I was very professional, but holy cow, dude. So I was just had it, like, there was a lot of stuff going on, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I just got to get back into sales. There was not a sales job for me where I needed it to be with DeWalt. So I'm like, hey, no big deal. Love the people. I interviewed on the side, got an offer accepted. So then I took that to my boss. Hey, I need to speak with you. You quit on a Friday.
An offer from another company?
Yeah. I had an offer letter. I had a start date. I'm like, they ordered me a company truck. So I'm like, okay, I'm like pretty dedicated to this company. So then manager was cool. And then I sit my manager, I sit with him on a Friday and I'm like, hey, I don't know how, easier way. I forget exactly what I said, but there's no easy way to do this. I'm going to I have another opportunity. It presented itself and, that this is my 2-week notice. And he just like looked at me like I had 15 heads, starting to sweat. And I'm like, I don't know who's sweating more, him or me. But anyway, so he's like, okay. Can you put that in an email? I said, absolutely. So this was, maybe this was a Thursday or Friday, whatever. But then definitely later that day, the president of the division like walked over. He's like, hey, can we catch up? I'm like, oh, yep. Yeah, we definitely could. So he pulls me in. He's like, what's going on? I just explained some of my things and what people do when they quit. I did not say it was about the money. It was more about, I was kind of veering off what I was doing. So like, everything I just told you I was doing in the job was like 80%, but then there was 20% where I was doing just some other things that I wasn't learning. I wasn't being challenged. So I'm like, hey, for the last 3 months, I've been doing this. There's no end in sight. I'm like, you're paying me X amount. I'm like, when I quit in 2 weeks, I'm like, take my salary and just hire 2 people to do it and his jaw was on the floor. He's like, tell me what, and I'm like, yeah, hire 2 people, cut my salary in half, hire 2 interns, hire something, and you guys will benefit. And he was like no one's ever recommended or brought a solution, like that. So like I get jacked up thinking about that because it was, I don't know what I was getting myself into. And this guy.
Because it was like, what was it? It was like 2 jobs in one?
Yeah, but just like what they were paying me a good salary. So like what I was doing was just very like data entry, like a lot of building PowerPoint slides.
So a lot of it, you weren't really using your skills.
Exactly. My marketing skills. Exactly. Sure. Yeah. Like wasn't learning.
Like it's something that's, that somebody else could be doing and you can be doing other high payoff activities.
Exactly. Like, focusing on the future versus trying to fix other people's mistakes, things like that.
Sure.
So when I was like, yep, I'm like, it's not about the money at all, actually. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, just hire 2 people. I'm out. Like, I just don't like the tasks I'm doing anymore. And then he's like, give me till Monday. Monday comes around. He's like, do you want to go back into sales? I'm like, yep. He's like, how much? And I was like, it's really not about the money, but this is what the other company's paying me. He's like, okay, done. And I'm like, done. Okay. Appreciate it. Like, it was awesome. But actually I just thought of this. Do you know who Tim Ferriss is?
Yeah.
Okay. So what?
Wait, you can't talk about other podcasts.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead. No, I'm joking.
Tim Ferriss has the 4-Hour Work Week, great book. And I'm big into a lot of these books. We talk about that stuff. So there's an out of office that Tim Ferriss puts in the book. It was like, hi, in order for me to serve you more and the corporate and the company, I'm only checking email between like 2 and 4 o'clock. Did you ever see this at all?
No, but I think I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before I quit, maybe 3 weeks before I quit the first time, I put this as an out of office. So like nobody taught and I'm on emails.
So you
with
did this?
Yeah, I did this. I'm like, I'm going to get shit done. Like I want to have all these projects. I'm into them in a way. So like finally they give me a project I'm into and I don't have time because I'm doing all this little stuff. So I'm like, I'm going to put my out of office on, do this intense project. They call it like a line review. You see, is that a term everyone uses? Like you see what sells and what doesn't, a line review?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Tim Ferriss out of office is on there. And I mean, I don't know how many, I got 150, 200 emails a day. So that went out to like some people like 3 times, and I get pulled into HR and they're like, what's going on? Like, you can't do this. And I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to be productive for you guys. Like, what are you, I'm doing these, less important tasks when I should be like, here's my project. And they were like, again, they like totally respected my thing, but they're like, you can't take that off. Like so-and-so saw that went to them. They were on that email. They're like asking like if you should have
what's this guy doing here?
Job here.
Yeah, Alan, please tell us what you do at this company, Office Space.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, so that was like the warm up. I'm like, okay, so this is then 2 weeks later, quit, whatever, then get back into a sales job. But it's so funny. I talked to some of my friends there now and they all bust my chops. Like they all have that. I think that email's framed somewhere like that. That's out of office, but they're like, oh, guess what corporate's doing now? I'm like, what? They're like, no meeting Fridays, like just so people could get caught up. They're like, maybe you were like 4 years ahead of everybody. I'm like,
you set the tone.
Damn, I guess Tim Ferriss I did. Yeah, I don't know. But I was just dying at that. Like everyone. Yeah. So anyway, quit the first time to get into a sales job, a totally different sales job. I was selling to like mom and pop type stores. So not the big box, not the job sites, but selling to small distributors like, I'm trying to think of an example locally, like Friedman. Friedman was not my customer, but Friedman Electric type stores. So as that happens, I'm starting to build up my real estate rental portfolio and things.
Hashtag cash flow.
Yes, there you go, which we'll have to talk about. So that's one of the reasons why the shirt's on. And started that. And then fast forward, I think I was in that job for 4 or 3 years. And then became a licensed realtor in that time, things like that. And I'm like, you know what a better time just to let go. The market's getting hotter and things. And then I just took the step and quit
second time
with a better reason the second time and just said, hey, I'm not looking for counter. I'm out of here. And they respected it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then
long-winded there.
Yeah, that's all right. No, it's a good story. And so what happened? So you quit the second time, and before you quit, you were already lining up your real estate license.
Yeah, I was doing. I had it already for like maybe 6 or 8 months. I was doing deals coming in on the weekends, just like really hustling to try to keep some.
So you were driving like from DC up to Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. It was some long commutes there, but it worked out great. And after it's probably coming up on exactly a year since I left, DeWalt. So haven't looked back. It's been
good. So how did you get into the rental properties? Now this probably dates back some time, right?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So how did you get started with rentals?
Yes.
Like, what do you buy like a multiple unit?
We'll talk books here. So,
cash
Robert Kiyosaki.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
No.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I don't think so.
Okay,
Tell me about
that'll
it.
be my donation here to this studio. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Cash Flow Quadrant. Oh my God. Like you have to, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like everyone in real estate rolls their eyes like, oh, we all read that book, but that got me started just with the mindset. And then Cash Flow Quadrant is a great entrepreneur mindset about, it's like, looks like 4 quadrants, 1 quadrant. Hey, I'm going to mess this up, but you're self-employed. The other one's like talking about income. So
sure,
you're self-employed. You always have to work. Your investments is a quadrant. Real estate's a quadrant, having your money work for you. And there's another one, maybe like working for somebody or something like that. But read those and then took the leap of faith. And this is some excellent knowledge for everybody. You can buy up to a 4-unit property with an FHA loan. So I did some research, and
so this is like going into your first rental property.
This is first rental, live in one, rent out the other 3. And what I learned more in that than probably 5 years in college. I had to go the extra year plus the DeWalt stuff. Like I learned so much at that because FHA 3.5% down. The property I think was like $300,000. It was outside of Baltimore. Move in. And I bought the property. I inherited the tenants. So like it was already tenant occupied. I asked the one girl to leave. She did. I move in and I did not know what I was getting myself into because it was like, no one was doing crack or meth, but it was, everyone was a bunch of drunks and smoking weed, like all the like party house, but it was like, I guess tolerable versus, the crackheads.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, move in. I could talk for 4 hours about this, but really what the goal was, I was paying rent in Baltimore. I've paid rent everywhere, and rents now it's anywhere from $800 to $1,200. So I'm like, my math is right. My mortgage payments, actually, I think mortgage, taxes, insurance was $2,000 a month for this 4-unit house. I was getting probably $2,600 in income from everybody else.
Total.
So I'm like, okay, so that covers at least mortgage stuff. And then there's some maintenance, but I'm like, wait, even if 2 people move out, I was already paying rent. So why not? Like my risk is like a lot less because even if half the building moves out, I'm
your
used
payment
to paying,
still isn't that much.
Yeah, exactly. I'm used to paying rent $1,000 a month. So tack that $1,000 on their rent and I'm still like I can't lose. So the only thing I did almost lose on is just because when everyone smoked in their apartments and stuff. So when somebody moved out, I was doing the sweat equity and painting the apartments, new flooring. I lived downstairs, but it worked out. Like I was on site, but holy cow, like unforeseen, unforecasted expenses, like
and a lot of work,
freaking crazy. A lot of weekends. Like I don't think I drank. You think I would have been drinking a lot, but I don't think I drank for like 2 years fixing up this building.
Too busy.
Like, yeah, exactly.
And
tired. Seriously. But that's how I got started, and I learned how to handle tenants, how a real estate transaction works. I ended up selling that to a good friend of mine, and just knowing all different sides. So that got me started. And then as I was exiting from that, moving back here, well, actually that was a couple of years ago, but I ended up buying a handful of properties up here. And the cash flow, this area, I'll give a little public service announcement. This area has some of the best setups for properties. Just like a double block or a side-by-side is a great property to get into. It's a desirable one. So like this area, like the rent ratio versus purchase price is amazing. Like better cash flow than Baltimore.
Than previous.
Better cash flow than freaking anywhere like on the East Coast, I bet. Like I got to watch what I say because I don't want other people to scoop up some deals, but I'm here for you if anybody's looking. But really, bought a few up here, noticed how good the cash flow is. And I'm like, okay, now let's start focusing on building a real business here. And that's kind of the mindset of quitting going back to that. But that's really how it all happened. So
okay,
yeah, got started that way though.
Yeah, so you got started with a handful of rental properties, and but then you moved back up here, and you're with RPA Real Estate. How did RPA all come about?
So my realtor, I got to
right.
So not realtor. So another quick if anybody's looking to sell their house and somebody walks in and they're licensed realtor, but they introduce themselves as a realtor, please call me or get them out of there. Don't.
So this is like a real thing.
Yeah. I might have caught you say realtor too.
I
right?
did. Yeah. Yeah.
Realtor.
Yeah. Okay.
Realtor. If you might get away with that.
Stand corrected.
But
yeah.
Yeah. So Rob Altmeyer, who is our broker at RPA, broker owner, he was my realtor for 4 years, and he has sold me everything. He's coached me on a lot of things, mentor through this whole thing. And that's where, between seeing how good the properties in this market is, seeing how good this area is and it's turning around, I think this area is freaking awesome. That plus mixed with a great mentor, plus I want to quit my corporate job, and that all kind of worked together. So I did it, worked with Rob at a brokerage, and then we kind of sat down. He's like, "Hey, if we open something, let's do it." I'm like, "I am 100%. It's game on. Let's do it." And got in the middle of all that, got my license and things, and we're here. RPA Real Estate, 62 North Mountain Boulevard in Mountaintop.
There it is. Shout out.
That's it.
Shout out, Rob.
Great sign. That somebody made.
Yeah,
for
we
us
printed
too.
them. Yeah. Every time I go by, I beep the horn. Do you hear me?
Sometimes.
Do you?
There's a lot of noise, but I do hear horn.
I hope
beeps.
so.
And everyone
because
beeps. I just
seriously,
wait.
your car's there. Like a lot of times when I come home in the evenings, your car is there, and I go by and I beep. If I see your car, I beep every time.
I love it.
Yeah, I have to.
That's great.
Even if you can't hear me, I think I'm gonna still keep doing it.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's it's the we got to the RPA here, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys are a new brokerage. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Firm.
We don't
use the wrong word,
but very, very experienced. Not new to the area, nothing like that.
Sure.
Rob has been, I think, top 3 for, oh my gosh, years of realtors
in this area.
Yeah, realtors in the area. And that's it. It's just getting a mentor is where it all helps everybody out, no matter what anybody's trying to do. So
yeah.
So
let's talk a little bit more about the real estate market. What the hell's going on with this market these days?
Yeah, it's wild. The property values have, when I run some numbers, like for certain parts, I mean, Mountaintop's a whole other animal, but just certain parts of the valley, some neighborhoods have seen like 40% increase and maybe more in property values, which is awesome for everybody. There's people that are purchasing that are so thankful that they're getting a home, and there's people that are selling that are like, holy cow, we couldn't sell this for years, and all of a sudden it sells in 30 seconds, literally, or in 20 hours. It's awesome right now. Hopefully it continues. Right now we're seeing a little uptick in inventory. So, and I know as we sit here, it was reported, I think May was like the first month that mortgage brokers saw just like a flat line of applications from buyers. So, if you're looking to buy, you apply for a mortgage, so that those companies reported
kind of
like a leveled out. Yeah, that's probably the good word.
Okay.
So nothing hasn't slowed yet, but that's just maybe a sign that maybe we'll just, shift down a gear, but nothing too crazy.
So like houses are selling in a matter of like a day.
Yeah, a day. It's wild. Some of them, like when I represent my seller, I'm like, I cannot get over how many showings. If I press enter on that listing at, 1:00 on a Friday, how many people just try to get in Friday night and then forget it Saturday, Sunday. It's like
already.
Yeah. There's no even
multiple offers.
There's no open house. It's literally just people coming and going. Multiple
crazy.
Yeah. It's wild.
And have you seen a lot of people from like New York City, New Jersey, or just anywhere from outside the area moving here? Like I heard there's a huge boom.
So many people from out of the area, which you hear, people like don't like that sometimes. But when you actually peel back and look at what the house was and what actually these out-of-state people are doing is awesome. Like
they're raising the value.
They're raising the value. They're planting flower beds out front. They put new roofs on. Like I would say 10,000 times more good people than the bad. I don't want to give anybody a bad
sure. And you've seen these people.
Like,
I mean, you've worked with them.
I've represented them on buying and selling side. Like it's wild how it's working out good. Like don't think if your neighbor is from out of state that the neighborhood's going to crap.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. Next thing you know, they might be putting a huge deck on and,
raise the value of your house too.
Exactly.
How does that work? Like for, people that may not understand, like when people make improvements to their house, in a neighborhood, like how does that work for the
There's
definitely
some things that's fun. There's definitely some things people do that they think are going to increase value, which I'm like, please God, don't do that. Like, or I'll walk and they're like, look what we just did. I'm like, I have to stay positive and say, hey, good decision, but let's focus on these other three things. But like I'll keep it very, basic, but like obviously everyone knows this kitchen and baths, but there's certain things in those rooms that even if it comes down to a faucet, like that could make your bathroom or that could make your kitchen look totally different with a nice black fixture versus the standard chrome. Like,
oh wow,
it's just wild. Like little stuff like that does not cost a lot of money.
That doesn't cost a lot extra.
Exactly, that doesn't cost.
In the grand scheme of the cost of the kitchen.
Yeah, but start with, if anybody's really thinking about, start with paint or call somebody about paint colors. Don't think like, hot pink or cobalt blue is going to be great for like the living room. Like usually we do, can't go wrong with white grays in right now. But yeah, just think about what you're going to do or talk to a professional licensed realtor if you're thinking
Alan
about
Kline.
it. Yeah. But, I'll keep it basic. If anybody, I won't share all my secrets that I advise on, but that's it.
Yeah.
So.
And let's talk a little bit about the cash flow now. So our boy Grant Cardone, that's where the shirts came from.
Yep.
So I mean, everything, a lot of the theme I see, over the years of your life has been cash flow. I seen one time you posted on Facebook about like some spreadsheet of tracking expenses and all kinds of stuff like that, budgeting.
Yeah, I could not tell you anything about sports. I couldn't. It's crazy. I don't know if you're Penn State. Besides Penn State football,
yeah. Besides Penn State football, not too much. To be honest.
So the sports thing, like I know everyone talks sports. I love.
You talk budgets.
Talk budgets and
cash
like
flow.
margins and cash flow. So like a lot of our friends have businesses, and like when we get together, I'm just like, yo, how's it going? Like, what does that cost you to make? Like, do you think you could increase it? Like, I'm just like oddly obsessed with, how much people make on things and how to improve it. Like we all get together with a few buddies, mutual friends of ours. And it's always like, hey, this is what we're doing. What can we do better? And it's like, if you dive deeper in the numbers, so like with the cash flow thing, and this is what I learned at the corporate life is a lot of people are so focused. A lot of people are so focused on finding the next customer, coming out with the next product. That is so important. But if you go back and actually look at your current customer base or your current product offering, and you might be able to critique a couple things to where you'll make more money with those existing products
and your existing customers
than going to, go design or go invent something else. It's like, wait, let's just go look at our expenses and where can we cut some costs and where can we up some prices. And does that make sense? It's just
Absolutely.
like, I just see that all the time where it's like, oh, we're going to come out with this, or we just started this other business. I'm like, wait, what if you just said you have no time to, I'm trying to think of a good example without, throwing somebody out there that anybody would know. But hey,
how about like your personal stuff? Like, you said you tracked,
I know
you've tracked a lot of your own personal expenses.
So perfect. Knowing that I was quitting, my
how did you
career,
prepare?
I tracked I've tracked every penny. So I'm probably 94% accurate since 2012. I could tell you what I paid for a haircut, what I paid for shoes, like.
That's crazy.
I know haircut, everyone's like, who cares? But the whole point of that is knowing that my expenses have not changed from 2012 to like probably 2017. Like I had the same exact expenses, but my salary probably increased 400% or so. Yeah,
cash flow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good pitch and hit right there.
You like
so,
that? Toss that one right up.
Yeah.
Alley-oop.
That's it.
We don't know sports, but
exactly. Did I say who's winning the match? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, I mean, that helped me quit my job, but that was tracking all that and just knowing.
So you knew going into it.
Oh my God, if I don't get paid for a year, I know I could just go out and paint this building out here that you have and make it, and survive for a year. If the real estate market crash, if I just love being prepared. So tracking all that, keeping your expenses personal, I think I was saying like my personal margin, keeping that really low, and then having your salary increase and increase and increase over a year. You're like, wait, that's all going towards savings. That's going to a rental property, things like that. So it's
continually investing back into.
Yeah. And into yourself. Yeah. Buying books, but just the whole point of just knowing what I spend and keeping that very flatlined, I guess, while your salary increases is over the last couple of years. Like that's the way to really get ahead. It's crazy. Some of my close friends, like I've seen, we'll use basic number. Hey, somebody makes 50,000 and then they maybe make 60, but then they go buy a brand new car and then maybe they buy a watch or something. I'm like, wait, if you do the math of what you're going to make monthly from just a $10,000 raise, that's awesome. But don't go spend invest it, buy a house. Like maybe that's a down payment for a house. Maybe that's something else, but watch what, if you divide that out by a month, it might be only like $300 a month or something. It's nothing, It's nothing crazy after tax with a $10,000 raise. And then you go buy a car and that car payment's $5,000. So you actually you took more responsibility at work and now your cash flow is $200 less because you
cash flow negative
car. Yeah. Ugh.
Is that a thing?
Nobody likes that. Oh, nobody likes negative cash flow, bro. Nobody.
No.
Yeah.
That's a big sin.
That's brutal.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Yeah. What else? Anything else on the cash flow end?
Yeah. I'll say this too. So I'm a big advocate of no matter what anybody does for this area, if everyone bought a 2-unit property, a double block, basic numbers. Well, I won't share all of them. Everyone could reach out to me if they want to really know how to do this.
You're going to tell me this after.
Yeah. A freaking 2-unit double block, you can make $500 a month. Well, you can net that, net everything.
Cash flow.
When you say net like 3 times, that's like it.
Like triple net.
Triple net, yeah.
Net.
Yeah.
Okay.
After everything, $500, and then that could pay for a car payment. That could be a kid's college fund. But then if you have a 20-year, 15-year mortgage, after that, the house is paid for. And then that house now is worth, I'll use very low numbers, but now that double block in good conditions worth $150 in 10, 15 years. Now you could sell it, and that's 75 to one kid, 75 to another. That's 150. You could treat your wife or keep it and cash flow more because you have no mortgage now. So I have a lot of police friends. Like I just tell them like, hey, I know you, but you should definitely buy. Just give me just a chance. I'll get you a 2-unit. I'll help you out. I'll guide you because I buy a 2-unit for every child you have.
Get me a 2-unit.
Yeah,
I got this son. Well, actually, by the time this episode comes out, baby Corcoran's already gonna be born.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So we're like talking in the future now.
And we have to say baby Corcoran because we don't know.
We don't know the name yet. Well, no, I think we do, but we just aren't sharing it yet until baby is born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Baby. Well, hello, baby. We're gonna get baby a house.
Yeah. So get baby a house with a FHA. What was it? 3 point.
Well, you have to live in that. Yeah. So actually, in your case, good. I have to correct that.
Yeah.
You have to live in that one. So we could. I have some different things I'll tell you, but $500 a month. That goes into account for baby Corcoran, and then in 15 years, $150,000 Tesla you could buy because you'll sell the house in 15 years.
Yeah, get myself a really fast Tesla.
Yeah,
maybe they'll be flying by then.
That probably will. That's scary, but
yeah,
that is my last comment on cash flow would be do the research and buy the house next. There's probably a double block on everybody's street in the valley that buy it and keep it close, and you could it's just a nice little nest egg. So
Yeah. What can someone expect going into being a landlord? I know I'm not one myself, but I've heard lots of stories from other people. Like I know there's probably some horror stories, but there's also a lot of good. Like what can someone expect?
I have never got a call about a toilet being clogged at midnight. Like, like people are like, oh, I'm afraid of the calls. Like, there's some definitely headache, but with any it's a business. So with any business, you're going to have headaches, but I've never had a call about somebody's toilet overflowing at midnight. I've had that call, but it's during normal work hours.
Okay.
Very easy to fix. But really what you could expect is a lot of fun and a lot of learning. And I tell, like, if you're really, really starting out, if you have the expectation that you're not going to make money the first 6 months because you're going to make, holy cow, you could make a mistake by just forgetting to change the electric or gas in your name. That could cost you $200 by, you know what I mean? Like if you just have that expectation first 6 months is learning.
What are some do's and don'ts?
Ooh,
I mean, that's obviously one or two right there. But like, what else can someone expect?
Do's and don'ts.
Or just things to be aware of going into it. Like you said, like changing the electric and the gas over.
Plan. So like a big thing that worked out for us is like, even after our first one, I just planned like I was going to own 200 units. So I built the systems. 200?
Yeah,
like I don't own that yet.
Oh,
but,
okay, yeah.
but okay. Like I'm built, like we could take on if
you forecast.
If somebody's like, hey, do you want to buy 150 units? Like we go, and I could take that on because I have Dropbox set up properly. I have, all of my vendors. I have meter number, like just tracking everything and staying organized is probably 80% of the battle. Like nothing to do with tenants. It's more the operation side.
What's all this operations stuff?
You won't believe how many, if a tenant moves out, you got to change gas, electric, and like, there's just a lot of time consuming things, paying utilities, getting occupancy permits from the township or borough you live in. There's just a lot of little admin things that nobody thinks about. They think they're just going to be tenant focused.
Yeah, they think there's going to be cash flow.
Yeah, you can't be cash flow positive until your systems are right.
But
but there's a lot of computer work, honestly, at getting your leases right, typing out. Like there's just a lot of things I could help some people out with. But do have the expectation that you're not going to make money your first 6 months. It makes things easier. You might make a great money your first 6 months.
But plan to not,
just mentally, because then you won't beat yourself up when
you're
a screen door blows off in the wind and it's $250.
Yeah, you got to fix it.
Yeah, you got to fix it. It's no stress. You just, you call a handyman or maybe you get involved and do it yourself. But
yeah,
great. I couldn't preach that more. If everyone just owned a 2-unit, you would be.
So that's where you start?
That's where you start. Nice 2-unit.
All right.
Yep, that's it.
Love it.
So
cool.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, what else? So you're very entrepreneurial.
Try to be,
yeah. You got a lot going on, which is super cool. Got any good entrepreneurial advice?
I just reviewed. Did you ever hear of Derek Sivers?
No.
Okay, that's another. We have some follow-ups from this thing.
Okay.
So when I have like a little stack of books that ebooks that is it ebook or no audiobook?
Audio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Audio, but then I'll go back. Like sometimes I need the motivation or I need the reminders, a couple times a year. But this dude, Derek Sivers, has like books. He's on Tim Ferriss, promoting another one. Sorry about that, the Tim Ferriss thing. But
it's all good.
The best advice I've had from him.
What is he? Is he like a?
Dude, you got to listen. I'll send you this thing. So cdbaby.com is what he started in the 90s. And how this guy talks to, he's just like, oh yeah, I thought about this website. I wanted to just sell CDs. I mean, he sold it for maybe billions like in the 90s, but he just started shipping CDs out of his basement, cdbaby.com, and then got bought out and now just tells the story about it.
And was he just like a speaker now or a speaker
he's
and a writer?
He's involved. He's definitely a writer, but he's involved in some other businesses. I'm not that close to him, but his podcast and
he has a podcast.
A guest. He's always guests on people's. But the episode, he said, when you start, you got to listen to it. It's so good. But he just said, say yes to everything. So he tells a story about he wanted to be in a band, and then he got asked to play at a circus, and then because he kept saying yes to everything, he started playing at this one circus, and the lady's like, "You're great. Do you want to travel around the country?" And he's like, "Yeah," travels around the country. And then she's like, "You're great. Do you want to do this?" He kept saying yes. And then he that's how CD Baby was evolved, because he just kept saying yes to all that stuff. So like, just say, especially getting started out, you gotta have to say yes to everything. And that's what my phone rings with some opportunities, whether people want to sell, maybe it's a little far out. I'll say, yeah, like everything's yes.
So you never tell anyone no.
It's tough. There are times to tell people no too, when you get to that certain, tenure or, you get established enough that now you have to prioritize your building your future business. It's a tough one I mentally struggle with this all the time. And I know you definitely do too. Like, what do you say yes to? Because baby Corcoran, but also,
hashtag cash flow.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good one to say yes there. I just listened to that, like in the last couple of days, and that got me motivated again. Like, holy cow, it is true. Like the mindset works if you just say yes starting out to everything.
Yeah. I like that. I really like that too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of of the same mindset.
Yeah. But then you also, and then it's like in another breath, I'm like, well, I overcommitted. I now have to trim some fat off. And now I'm like,
oh shit,
mostly apologizing to my wife that, so I can't do that. So,
yeah. You're not home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's a good one. I'm trying to think of some other advice that,
what about from our cash flow shirts from our boy Grant?
Yes. Oh, Grant. So Grant's big on doing the top line sales, but tracking those expenses. And everyone's like, oh, I don't have time. You could sit on your couch, pull up whatever bank account, Chase, credit card you use, whatever. And you could I organize mine. It's like, I'm trying to think of the categories. I have like, of course I can't think of it now, but just like I have bars and restaurants as a category. Utilities. Thank you. Yeah. just things like that. Netflix. I even tracked down to like Netflix and Spotify and things, and
like home entertainment.
Yeah. Exactly. Then there's like, the travel is on there, travel meals, like fast food. I try to put as its own line item because I don't want to eat it. So I'm pissed when that number
when you see $12 McDonald's there.
But if you track that stuff too, like, holy cow, you're going to see like, and then you set a goal. So the whole point of tracking all this is there has to be a goal in mind, like whether you do want to buy a house, whether you want to save for your kids' call, whatever. Like, it's just that. And if somebody out there wants to quit their job, I would say that is by far first, because how I work, I could sleep at night knowing that I'm covered. Like, shit hits the fan, somehow I'm unemployed because I quit my job and I can't, like, I know exactly what I have to do to check the box. So yeah.
Cool.
That's it.
You willing to like share this what is it, like a spreadsheet?
Yeah, it's Excel. Yeah.
I
posted it. It's funny. I posted it on the Facebook, did I just say?
Yeah, the Facebook. Yeah.
And, I got so many people inquiring, like people I haven't talked to, like message me like, yo, send it.
Yeah.
So whoever,
I think I remember seeing that a while back.
Might even have been during, the COVID.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I got to redo that because I got to follow up with hold people accountable there.
Yeah. See where everyone's at.
Send me your spreadsheet.
Yeah. What's your cash flow?
Yeah. It's all confidential. I like to advise.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Dave Ramsey. I'm like, between him, Grant, Gary V. Do you listen to Dave at all? He's a very conservative.
No, not really.
He'll mess you up a little bit, but he's a good one to follow. But those are some all people get my advice from.
Nice.
And I just talk. I'm like plagiarizing probably half of this because
it's all good. It's all good content.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So and if anyone's listening and wants to check it out, I'm sure they'll find it just as valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone's looking to sell their house with a realtor, what do they need to do?
Yeah, you could call me direct. I'm touching that. 570-592-7961. You could find me on Facebook easily, and websites 570sales.com. And call, text. Yeah,
cool.
That's it.
What else, man? Anything else I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
No, I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Getting together.
Yeah, it was. And thanks for the hashtag cashflow t-shirt.
Yes. Yep. Watch where you wear that though. Some people,
they might think I'm an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. But it's great. If they know the background.
Yeah. I need to start sporting this thing around town.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, that's it. Check us out. RPA Real Estate. We're right at the top of the mountain. We tons of experienced realtors.
Correct yourself.
I looked at the wall over there and I got nervous. So
jeez.
Yeah, that's really it. Come and check us
cool.
out. It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, super cool, man. And you and I have known each other for like a super long time, and since we were like really young kids. And
Scrapping. What street was that?
I was on Melrose. You were on Old River.
Yeah. Melrose Ave and Old River Road there.
Yeah,
Scrapping.
Riding bikes and stuff.
That's it.
Yeah, good stuff. No, seriously, it's really cool catching up with you, and it's good to have you back in the NEPA area.
That's it.
Yeah, man, welcome back, and I wish you the best of luck with everything.
Cool, Bill. Thanks.
All right, Alan Kline, RPA Real Estate, on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Thanks for joining me. If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on the Stacks.